recorded live at 4ZZZ Studios, Meanjin, Brisbane.
On 102.1 FM.
And broadcast across Australia on the Community Radio Network.
You're listening to Z Games.
Z Games brings you the best in gaming news, reviews, community and culture. Want to reach out?
Share your hot take?
Or do you just want to share your favourite game?
Find us on socials at ZEDGamesAU.
Hello. You're listening to Z Games here on 4ZZZ. My name's Hazel, and I'm here in the studio with...
Zahra! That's right. We're back.
We're back, and it's just the two of us.
It's
an intimate night with just you, me, and a few thousand of our closest friends.
Yes, which is, of course, you listeners. So feel free to text in whatever you've been playing lately, because... You know what? This might surprise you. We've been playing some video games lately ourselves.
We have been playing some video games. This is a show about video games, and we do play them from time to time.
Yes.
What have we been playing, Zahra?
I don't really want to spoil it because we're going to review it later, but I am going to spoil it because I am just so darn excited about it. We're going to be we played Another Crab's Treasure over the past
couple months.
Yep, it's been a little project,
Yes.
and I'm so excited to talk about the project later. We've also got a review from Paul, who will be, I guess, teleporting into the studio to do that.
Yeah.
You know how he does. He just sort of.
He just kind of.
Yeah.
Hacks the mainframe, gets his reviews out there.
Yeah.
But aside from the games that we're reviewing, we've also been continuing our journey with me showing Zahra the Mass Effect trilogy.
Yes.
In Mass Effect Legendary Edition.
We have moved on to the third game.
And how, without spoiling anything for this 10-year-old series, how do you feel about the series now? I
feel like Shepard is like the mum, the universe's mum, the galaxy's mum, and is having to fix every single little bickery-do that is happening in the galaxy in order to hold this galaxy together. Which I feel pretty comfortable with that assessment so far.
And how do you feel about our collection of little guys?
I love our little guys.
They're so good.
Oh, they're so good. They've managed to make us cry a few times now, though.
They have. The third game is where things get serious.
Yeah, very serious.
But on a not serious note, we did just get a text in from Caroline to say pee-pee poo-poo.
Wow. Thanks.
Well,
while we reflect on that very insightful message, do we want to listen to the week in gaming news?
We have got the week in gaming news to listen to, and it is a doozy.
Here it comes. It's never good when it's a doozy.
Hey yo, we finally got some news about the PS5 Pro console. On Tuesday, the 10th of September, Sony held a technical presentation revealing the details of the upcoming PS5 Pro console. It's set to be released on November 7th of this year, and pre-orders open up on the 26th of September. Alongside the technical specifications of the console, Sony also revealed that the PS5 Pro will cost a whopping $1,199 Australian dollars. So what is the PS5 Pro offering to justify that mammoth price tag? Well, the biggest improvement is higher fidelity graphics and smoother frame rates, which they're promising to deliver with a bigger GPU, advanced ray tracing, and some AI-driven upscaling. Storage is also getting an upgrade. Where the original console came with 825 gigabytes of space, the PS5 Pro features a 2TB SSD. There are some downgrades though. The PS5 Pro doesn't have a disk drive included, so if you have a collection of physical games you want to use, you'll need to invest in a separate drive for an additional $159 Australian dollars. The PS5 Pro is also missing the vertical stand that came standard with previous versions of the console, and yes, you can buy it separately, but that will drive the price up even further. So is it worth it? I don't know. I'm not the person to tell you. I haven't played PlayStation since the PlayStation 2. But it definitely seems like less people are willing to pick this console up day one than we thought there were before the price was announced. So speaking of Sony, if you've been paying attention to the games industry this year, there's no way you've missed the huge number of layoffs hitting studios big and small. It's a depressing trend that's forced a lot of talented people out of the industry, but not everyone is sympathetic. As a guest on a recent episode of the My Perfect Console podcast, Chris Steering, the ex-president of Sony Computer Entertainment Europe, disputed that the trend is a result of corporate greed. I don't think it's fair to say that the resulting layoffs have been greed. If the money isn't coming in from the consumers on the last game, it's going to be hard to justify spending the money for the next game. There's definitely truth to that, and Chris wouldn't be coming under so much fire if he'd stopped there. But he didn't stop there. It's like the pandemic, he continued. You're gonna have to figure out how to get through it, drive an Uber or whatever, find a cheap place to live and go to the beach for a year. So far, no word from Chris on how to find a cheap place to live, but I'll keep an ear out and let you know. In a post on Twitter, Martin Ware from the British band Heaven 17 shared that Rockstar Games had contacted him about using the song Temptation in GTA 6. Initially, he was excited about the opportunity until he saw what they were offering. $7,500 for a buyout of any future royalties from the game forever. Martin was offended by the offer, and considering that GTA 5 has made over $8.6 billion in revenue, it does seem quite low. But many people were quick to argue that the exposure you'd get from being in a GTA game was more than worth it. To those people, Martin only had one thing to say. Go yourself. Late last week, Larian Studios dropped a new update for Baldur's Gate 3. Alongside typical gameplay improvements and bug fixes, Patch 7 brings changes to Honor Mode, improved the split screen, and added an in-game mod manager. Oh, and they added a bunch of evil cinematics if that's your thing. They even renamed the Show Cinematic Nudity toggle to Show Sexual and Violent Cinematics, so people can avoid a few select moments of extreme violence that may be distressing to some. While Larian has said that Patch 7 isn't the last they've got in store for Baldur's Gate 3, future patches will likely be a lot smaller as the team focuses on their next project. And there's some upcoming game releases. Mexico 1921, A Deep Slumber, is coming to PC and Mac on September 13th. Also on September 13th, Evotinction will release on PS5, PS4, and PC. Gosh, I hope I pronounced that correct. On the 16th, The Spell Brigade leaves early access and releases on the PC. And on the 17th, we'll see The Plucky Squire released to PC, PS5, Xbox Series XS, and the Nintendo Switch. That's all this week in gaming news, folks. Back to you in the studio.
Thank you so much, Maylee.
Thank you, Maylee.
What a news it was.
Oh, okay.
Now, I believe you have some thoughts to share about the PS5 Pro, Zahra.
I mean, like, we've known about, the next stage of the PS5 for a few months, and I've asked myself the question: is it necessary? Have we truly pushed the base PS5 to its absolute limits? I feel like we still have I don't know, 10 games on there. And it's just I'm getting a feeling of being a console player might not be worth it anymore. But former Blizzard president Mike Barra, he did have something very insightful to say, that the PS5 Pro is, that price tag is, it's more like I'm sort of guesstimating the conversion rates here, but it's more like a $500 upgrade, if you trade in your old PS5.
Yes, because you always get the retail price of your console back when you trade it in.
Oh dear.
That's an interesting take. I think that most people buying a PS5 Pro will be trading in a regular PS5 to get it.
Yeah.
So, it probably does make a lot more I was going to say it probably makes a lot more financial sense. It doesn't make any financial sense to own a $1,200 console that does almost exactly the same thing that your old one did.
Yes, 2 terabytes of storage space. That's good.
Haven't people been taking them apart and putting like 10 terabyte SSDs in them since they came out?
Yeah, but like you're not meant to do that. It avoids your warranty or something like that. I don't know.
I don't believe in warranties.
It's just like, if you didn't have a PS5, would you feel it was worth getting a PS5 Pro? I would honestly just rather build a computer.
If I had like $1 million just lying around and I was like, oh, I need something to play video games on, do I buy the PS5 or do I buy the PS5 Pro? I might buy the PS5 Pro.
Yeah, because you have $1 million lying around.
Because I have $1 million lying around, but I don't have $1 million lying around. I've got a much smaller amount of dollars lying around, and no, that's not happening.
And it's like, yeah, no one's been forced to buy a PS5 Pro. Like, no one has to put out money that they don't have. But like, it feels a little out of touch.
Also, the separate disk drive is crazy.
The disk drive and the stand, like the stand being like what, a tiny piece of plastic.
Yeah, the part that lets you stand it up vertically. Like, come on.
Which I think you're not meant to do anyway. It's bad for the console. Have they fixed that? Have they fixed that with the PS5 Pro?
God, I don't know. It feels very anti everything. A lot of the stories today felt very anti-everything. Good old
getting paid
Chris Deering, the ex-president of Sony Computer Entertainment Europe, saying that the current video game industry crash, if we can call it that, I think we can call it that.
It feels like an exodus, almost like a forced exodus.
It's just like the pandemic. You're just going to have to figure out how to get through it. Drive an Uber or whatever. Like,
come on. That's not...
Yeah.
Anyway. But I'm happy for Baldur's Gate's fans.
With their evil endings.
I hope you're all having fun. Let me know what the vampire is up to. The bear man.
Yeah.
Karlach.
I'm sure we'll hear lots about it just by being on the internet.
Yeah, it's great.
Our friend Paul has delivered a tasty review of Caravan Sand Witch into our laps. Should we check that out?
I would absolutely love to have a bite out of this review.
Caravan Sand Witch is the latest and only game by French developer Plain Toast. Before we begin, I must point out that the game is actually called Caravan Sand Witch. I didn't notice the T until after I had finished my playthrough. There is a sandwich in the game, so the title makes sense, but also, there are sandwiches in the game, and I am but a simple man. Anyway, Caravan Sand Witch puts you in the role of Swaj, a young woman currently operating as a pilot in space. One day, she receives a distress call from her sister, who disappeared mysteriously 6 years earlier. So it's time to head back to the home planet and uncover what really happened. At its core, Caravan Sand Witch is a 3D exploration game with platforming and driving. The world you are exploring opens up fully after a brief tutorial chapter, and you are free to drive around and discover things at your own pace. Each chapter will have a primary mission, which when completed will also unlock a new ability for you or your van, allowing you to access previously unlocked areas. The world is a post-apocalypse, but a pleasant one. Very few people remain on the planet after a major disaster 40 years ago, which also drove the colonizing power away from the world, leaving it poisoned, but still livable. You will explore the varied environments of desert, swamp, and what frankly seems to be a bit of an Aussie bushland, mostly looking for structures built before the disaster to search for salvage. It's mostly a no-stress game. There are no enemies and no way to take damage. You can fall from the highest point in the world and be just fine. Your van is not just indestructible, but also extremely hard to tip. Not impossible to wedge awkwardly somewhere, but you'll have to try. If it does happen, however, there's just a button to send it back to camp. Common sense, but they take it a step further. While on foot, you can also push a button to travel back to your van. For an exploration game, this is awesome. If you see something up a cliff or along a path or way down the bottom of a long fall, you're free to go exploring without worrying about having to track the long way back to keep going. The game has a number of ease of use features which also mix in with the accessibility features. When looking at the volume controls, I noticed there was a slider for accessibility audio. Only then did I realise that small chimes I had heard in the game were indicating when I was next to certain things. A pickup, a ladder, an NPC I could talk to. I left the chimes on. They felt nice and I could certainly see them being useful for some people. So it's an easy game that helps you all the time. That sounds boring, Paul, I hear you say. But no, I exclaim on my broadcast radio platform. The world is a joy to explore. Firstly, it's absolutely gorgeous. I really wanted a photo mode, and while not currently present, I'm assured it is coming. As another quick aside, when the demo came out earlier this year, I was trying to find the best settings on my Steam Deck, and I came to the odd conclusion that I loved the game's look both on the lowest settings and the highest. It's just got a great style, and not just visually, but the soundscape is rich and pleasant, with a wonderful soundtrack by French artist Antinami, using more vocal elements than most video game soundtracks would use. Secondly, all the ruins you explore are small navigation puzzles, with some Metroidvania-style locks requiring you to return at a later point, but also smartly designed so you'll be able to traverse them much quicker on your return. Also, there is some light but interesting world building. There's a native population of frog-inspired creatures, and their birth and death cycle was really cool once I realised what was going on. Thirdly, it has smart solutions to common issues. If you don't know the issue of detective vision, it refers to when in Batman Arkham Asylum, players pretty much played the whole game with the ugly grid detective vision overlay because it was just the smartest way to see everything in the environment. Caravan Sand Witch has its own detective vision. After all, trying to locate small things in large ruins could be pretty frustrating without some method of detecting them. It only exists while you're in the van. That means you might scope out a location while in the van, you can even mark things, but then you get out and you're on your own again. Fourthly, the characters in the game are very well drawn and you quickly learn who is who. There's not a lot of dialogue, but enough for me to feel I had a decent relationship with them. The world building and characters are strong, but the overall story never really grabbed me and it has one of those pick A or B endings which rarely satisfy me. But mostly I just was a bit sad to be done with the world when finished. I enjoyed it immensely and I would have liked a little bit more. Caravan Sand Witch is a chill, stylish and low-stress exploration game with lots of quality of life and accessibility options that will take you around 10 hours to complete. It's available on PC, Switch and PS5. I played the game on PC with code provided by the publisher.
Thank you, Paul, for that review. I'm having a look at Caravan Sand Witch right now, and I think that this is not a Paul game, but in fact a Zahra game.
What?
Have a look at it.
What are you talking about?
I think that Paul, this was just given to the wrong person. I think you would have loved this so much, and I think you should try it.
Well, I mean, like, just because Paul's reviewed it doesn't mean that I can't play it. In fact, his review sold me on wanting to play. Oh my gosh, that is so... There is something about that style of, like, van that is so cute.
Yeah.
Ha!
Well, thank you very much for the review, Paul. And you may not have loved the game, but it's definitely convinced someone else to try it out.
A weekly dose of science on 4ZZZ is now available as a podcast.
I learned that you can hear the difference between different water temperatures when they're poured. I'm going to pour one after the other into a different glass, and you have to tell me which one is which temperature. I've got a hot and a cold. Yep. Right, here's the first one. Any thoughts?
Yeah, I'm saying cold.
It sounds cool. Yeah.
Yeah? Okay.
Yeah.
Here's the second one.
Well played.
Shut up.
Search No Idea 4ZZZ on your favourite podcasting app. That's spelled K-N-O-W, like Kano idea. It's a visual pun on an audio platform. I don't know why we did it.
You're listening to Z Games at 4ZZZ. I'm Zahra, announcing it as Hazel, and hang on, who's this guy?
Hey kid, you want to buy a review?
What? What do you
Sorry,
offer?
I misspoke. Do you want a free review?
Oh, yeah, if it's free.
Yeah?
Okay.
Well, check this out.
Oh my god. It's crabtastic. Wow.
Well, another Crab's treasure is a Souls-like action-adventure game developed and published by Aggro Crab. You might say that it is the Dark Souls of underwater homelessness.
The Dark Souls of underwater homelessness?
At the very beginning of the game, your home is repossessed by an evil loan shark. And by home, I mean your shell, because you are a hermit crab.
And your home is your shell. That's literally on your back.
It's been taken away, and you have been told that the only way to get it back is to brave the reef below and talk to the Duchess.
Oh, that's a lot for a little hermit crab. A little hermit crab named Krill.
A little hermit crab named Krill. You play as Krill, a tiny little hermit crab, and you have got to, find your way in this terrifying underwater world. And you've got to beat up a bunch of mean fish to do it.
Yeah, that's pretty much the long and short of it is you play as Krill. He's just a little guy. He's just got his little home. It's his home, gets taken away from him. So he's got to go grab it back, and you got to make your way through like the shallows, which is okay. We're not getting out of our depth here, except this is a Souls-like game, so it is quite challenging. But the story follows Krill trying to retrieve his shell first through the Duchess, but as I'm sure you can imagine, things sure do love to escalate, and Krill finds himself in a sea of trouble.
It's a real comedy of errors, except that it's not really a comedy. It's more of a funny tragedy.
Yep.
Have you played any Souls-like games before, Zahra?
I have attempted with an open heart and an open mind, and they both got bruised.
Oh dear.
Yeah, I did not have a good time. I do find that style of game quite challenging for me. It's get good, scrub.
Yeah.
Like that's the catchphrase.
You have to, the only way to have fun with a Souls-like is to just get good.
Yep.
You have to learn the timing. You have to learn the buttons. You have to learn the combos.
Yeah, and you have to learn how to dodge and parry. Like those dodging and parry. Dodge, parry, dodge, parry. You get those figured out, and I guess you're set. But I've not quite figured it out.
Yeah.
And it is a skill that you do need to work on. As you encounter the various enemies, they're like, little guys who will cause you like a medium amount of heartache and headache. And then you have the bosses, and they are fantastic. The entire theming of this game is absolutely incredible. Instead of bonfires, you have
moon snail shells. Oh, sorry, moon snail shells, I believe.
Yeah.
The world is permeated by a form of magic referred to as umami. And your stat for boosting your umami is not magic or MAG as it might be in a Dark Souls or something else.
Yeah, so how your attacks how your attack would be like ATK, defense is DEF. Your
umami is MSG.
which is fantastic. Souls in this game, Microplastics.
The currency is trash.
And
everybody is obsessed with getting the best trash. So you will see people wearing like 6-pack rings on their
as like
body
jewelry.
as jewelry.
There are these lobster guards that are sort of like centaurs. Like they are like, I guess, the horseback riders of this universe, and they have
they have a lance.
They have a lance
is
made out of straw.
A straw, and the handle of it, the guard for your hand, is the lid of like an iced coffee cup.
Yeah.
It's something else. The aesthetic of the game is just incredible. It's like I've never seen anything like it.
It's been so much fun just to like explore the world, explore like the cities, and see like, you have kind of like the Duchess's palace. What do duchesses live in? And like you see how like garbage is utilized in all these creative and interesting ways. You can also see garbage that you recognize. But the branding is, just a little bit more less obvious. And it's just a lot of fun to be like, oh, hey, I know that lighter.
There's a lot of familiar trash in the world, like very long pharmacy receipts being used as bridges between different parts of the level. And I think my personal favorite is... There's a box, and it looks exactly like a box of Uncrustables.
Yes.
Except it is renamed to Uncrustworthies.
And honestly, I feel like we could talk about the aesthetic of this game and the theme of it, like, in so much detail, because it is just a lot of fun. But we do need to talk a little bit about the mechanics, one of which is the garbage can be your friend. You are a hermit crab after all, so you do need like a shell, and you can use beer bottles as a shell, aluminum cans as a shell, like half a coconut shell as a shell,
a banana peel as a shell,
and they each have their own sort of strengths and weaknesses.
Stats that determine like why you would want to use them in a given situation. Like the coconut shell allows you to just sort of like barrel into an enemy like a cannonball, basically. The banana peel, that's an interesting one. You can eat it for health. You do lose your banana peel, but and each of these little abilities that you get, they're all unique to like that type of shell. So you might find like 1 million banana peels in the world, but every single one has the same shell spell.
Yes.
And I believe the one for the banana peel is called Munch. And you press a button, you eat your shell, and you gain some health back.
Yeah.
But there's also ones that are like a cannon.
Yeah. There's one where it's a little shot glass, and it's basically you get hit, the shot glass will explode. So you lose your shell, but that shot glass ends up doing damage to enemies around you. And it's like a lot of Souls-like mechanics, magic abilities. There is an ability tree where you can get upgrades and whatnot through the moon.
The moon jellies.
Yes.
I think it's a little convoluted, but yeah, there's a whole skill tree upgrade system. It's a very rewarding game.
Yeah.
The more you play it, the better you will get better at the game, but you will also get very interesting new abilities, and you'll learn to combine them in different ways.
Yeah, it's very accessible, and I did want to talk a bit about...
We do need to talk about the accessibility, and on the note of the accessibility, we also need to talk about the most powerful shell in the game.
Oh, I think we have different opinions about what would be the most powerful shell in the game.
The most powerful shell in the game is only accessible through the accessibility options.
Oh,
it's
yes.
Basically a cheat code. And that shell is a gun.
It's just a gun.
Krill puts a gun on his back, and he hides inside it, and then the shell spell is shooting the gun.
Yeah, it's like infinite, almost infinite health for the gun. So
yeah, it's It's the game on easy mode. There are a whole range of accessibility options. This is just the most extreme of them.
Which is gun.
Which is gun. And the option is literally called Give Krill a Gun.
You also do have options like when you
there are
die,
some more toned down ones.
If you die out in the world and you are fearful of losing your microplastics, you can set an option so then you respawn with your microplastics. You can get, you can slow the game down. You can sort of like increase your window of invincibility. There's lots of little things that you can tweak and mess around with to. If you're like me and you can't get good, you can still have fun.
It's really well thought out accessibility options. I found it very, very fun. And when I got sick of beating my head against a wall, I turned on some accessibility options and I had a better time.
Yeah, we were able to proceed with the game.
Sometimes it's fun when a game is hard, and sometimes it's not fun when a game is hard.
Yeah.
And I like it when I get the option to choose.
Yeah.
So, Another Crab's Treasure is developed and published by Aggro Crab Games. It was released in April of this year for the PlayStation 5, Windows, Nintendo Switch, and Xbox consoles. We played it on the PS5, and I believe we bought it for ourselves.
Yes, we did.
We did. We bought it with our own money, so this is an honest review. Not that any of our reviews aren't honest, but this one's extra honest.
Yep.
Anyway.
I love this guy.
That's it for Another Crab's Treasure.
Woo. That was craptastic.
We had a lovely show tonight.
It was a great show tonight. We got to talk about sandwiches. We got to talk about
sandwiches.
Both
kinds. We got to talk about crabs, our favorite topic on the planet.
Yes, exactly. I love those crustaceous little guys.
Oh, you know what? We got a last minute text in from Mr. Stalin, who usually does not text in for us, but I'm glad to hear that he's listening, saying you missed one piece of gaming news.
Ooh.
I caught 100% Charmander today.
Yes! Yes!
Congratulations.
Oh, my God.
All right. And with that brilliant piece of news, it's time for us to say goodbye to all you beautiful people out there.
Shout out to that Charmander.
Shout out to that Charmander, man.
Yes.
Oh, thank you so much. Goodbye. Good night. We love you. And we'll see you next week. Goodbye.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to Zed Games. If you'd like to listen to more, you can find us on the Community Radio Plus app
or find us on socials at ZED Games AU.
See you next time.